What do you think? New York City, WOR. Amy has a different opinion. You're up in the Savage Nation. Spell it out, Amy. What do you think?
Hi. Hi, Michael. I wanted to thank you for taking my call. I have a lot of respect for you, although I don't always agree with you. My background is Egyptian, born and raised in Montreal, Canada. And I'd like to say that I think that the hijab is a sign of freedom if it's applied correctly, and that is to say that women choose to wear it. In nations where it's dictated upon you, such as Saudi Arabia and elsewhere, it's most definitely not freedom.
All right, let's assume that is as valid an opinion as mine, which is that it is a mark of ownership and slavery. That's my opinion. Do you think that this woman suing Abercrombie and Fitch through CAIR really wanted to work there and was really oppressed by Abercrombie and Fitch, or do you believe it was done for the money?
Well, I think it's dangerous to assume what other people's intentions are, but I think that if you
what do you mean it's dangerous to assume? The very same group sued and won $50 million in 2004 for the very same kind of lawsuit. I mean, how smart do you have to be to put two and two together? Well, you don't have to assume. You can just figure it out.
I understand, and I will extrapolate based on that assumption, though. What I was going to say is I think that if you are religious and you're wearing the hijab because it's your religious calling and it's truly your decision, then you wouldn't be compelled to work in a store that goes against your own religious beliefs.
Well, that's another question. You know, you could argue that an Orthodox Jewish woman... No, let's put it another way. If you go in the Diamond District in New York, a lot of the people who run the Diamond District are Orthodox Jews with long side curls and black outfits, correct?
Correct.
All right. Would you expect any of them to want a job in Abercrombie and Fitch?
No, and that's why I feel, although you are assuming on her behalf what her intentions are, that there is some logic there.
Well, not some logic. It's flawless logic. It's just that you are so enlightened and so given to not want to second-guess people and want to always see the positive that when the negative hits you in the face, you're still seeing some of the positive, which I suppose is a blessing in a way to live that way. I, unfortunately, am a hard-nosed cynic, and I see things, unfortunately, as they really are. That doesn't mean, by the way, that I don't understand what the yarmulke means or what the hijab means. I know what they mean. I know they mean obedience to God, and I accept that. And I believe people should be able to practice their religion, and I believe they should be able to dress any way they damn want in the United States of America. However, if you're so damn religious that you feel the necessity to wear a hijab, why are you seeking out a job in perhaps the most opposite kind of retail establishment imaginable? There's only one reason, and that's to sue them for racial discrimination so you can win another $50 million for you and your wonderful group of cronies at CARE.
I have to agree with you. I think that is a reasonable place that's a reasonable stand. And I think that although, you know, maybe I'm a leftist nut job and I really like to give people the benefit of the doubt, I think that people like you who like to push the extreme and state what you feel, it's valid because what it does is it brings these conversations to the forefront. But your question was, is hijab enslavement or is it freedom? And I think that if it is a decision that you're making, it's your own desire to practice religion, then it is freedom. But if it is a political kind of move where you're trying to take advantage of an established business, or whether it's stuffed down your throat as in Saudi Arabia, or if you're being forced to wear those ninja outfits, which isn't religious at all, then of course it is not freedom. So I just wanted to...
You got to get your phone. You know, the ninja outfits are interesting where the woman is wrapped up literally from head to toe with only the eyes showing out of a slit.
And
that outfit was not common in the Muslim world until very recently, let us say within the last several hundred years. Where did that suddenly reemerge from?
I really, and this is a very unpopular opinion, I don't believe that that is the Muslim religion. I think that is a cultural fungus that is maybe originating from Saudi Arabia, but it was almost unheard of in Egypt. And until today, I mean, now you do see it in Egypt, and I think it's a travesty, and I think it's depressing to see it in Egypt, because Egypt was always, I think, a more progressive Muslim nation. And
it was.
I'll go say it was. The problem now is that religion has become politicized in Egypt, and I think that if you want to wear the religious cover, which is defined in the Quran as covering your bosom and in some people's minds covering your hair, fine, so be it. That's your interpretation of the religion. But if you're going to go so far as to politicize the religion and make people wear these ninja-type outfits, I think it's a detriment to women. I think it's a detriment to the religion. I think it's a detriment to culture at large. I know that's not a popular.
And you are of course opposite me on most political issues by what you stated in the previous paragraphs. You said you're a liberal and you see things totally different than me, and yet you're willing to have a rational discussion on this. You said something that's also worth continuous discussion, which is that if this religious costume is a political statement rather than a religious one, then it has no place in the workplace. And I will posit that it is in fact only a political statement. I will posit it as being used by CARE strictly for the lawsuit benefits. I will further state that if you're so damn religious, why do you want a job in a clothing store that caters to young 20-something men, which plays this kind of loud club music? It has a totally different atmosphere than any religious person would want. Why did she seek them out? The answer is clearly because she wanted, along with CARE, along with the EEOC, to break Abercrombie and Fitch and put another American institution on the ropes and out of business.
Wouldn't see her as a bartender because it's anti-religious for Muslims to drink alcohol. You wouldn't.
Well, no, you raise a good point. Maybe CARE should take some of these sleepers and make them go in and get jobs as bartenders and serve liquor. Are religious Muslims allowed to serve liquor but not drink it?
You're not supposed to be in the presence of alcohol at all. So what they would have.
Well, wait a minute. Half of the grocery stores, pardon me, are in San Francisco are owned by Palestinian folks who don't particularly look religious, but they're full of liquor in those stores. They must be allowed to sell them.
You're really not supposed to get any sort of financial benefit from something that's anti-religious. But that is, you can't just assume that because one Muslim does something that's not perfectly Islamic, that they are now the role models of what is Islamic at large. I mean, if you're going to be a perfect textbook Muslim, then you wouldn't even step foot in a bar. But if you wanted to put one,
you wouldn't even set foot in America, would you? You'd stay in Saudi Arabia or the Sudan.
I mean, I think
why would a perfectly religious Muslim want to come to this country and try to impose their ideas of dress and their cultural ideas on the country? Why?
No, I think that they shouldn't impose their ideas onto the country, but there are many beautiful things about the United States that a normal Muslim would want to, take part of. There's a great education system, for example.
That's right. Then why do you go to an educational system like UC Irvine and not let an Israeli ambassador speak? So you're taking, in other words, the third world mentality of shouting down your enemy, not letting him talk, and bringing it to the university, and destroying the enlightened concepts of the university. In other words, you're dragging the whole country backwards, not pushing it forwards. That's my point. Wherever you turn, I do not see the Muslim influence in America today advancing America. I see it pulling America backwards. Do you agree or disagree with that?
Unfortunately, I think that the examples that you bring up do prove your point. I can't.
Well, I'd like somebody to prove me wrong. Maybe somebody can enlighten me and tell me I'm wrong. Show me how Muslims coming to America today are pushing the nation forward to more enlightenment, to something better for all people rather than something retroactive and worse for all people.
I personally am Muslim, and I think that I'm a valuable member of society. Having said that, I think that instead of...
But wait, hold on now. But do you wear the hijab to work?
No, I do not.
Why not?
I personally don't understand it, and I don't really embrace it as being a key cornerstone to the religion, and I'm not a religious expert, so I wouldn't,
I think that for example, there are people such as lapsed Catholics who deeply believe in Jesus, who pray to God, but yet don't practice every corner of the religion. Most of the Jews in America are not particularly religious. They're, you might say, reform or liberal. They believe in God. They believe in a higher power called God. They practice some of the rituals of the religion, but they certainly don't literally interpret the Old Testament as every word is stated, or they kill half the people that they knew, maybe even themselves. If you actually read the Old Testament, it's quite a violent book. Am I correct about that?